Today, I have a little bit of an announcement. I'm gonna wait until more people have jumped on the live stream, but yeah. So I want to discuss. You know, 2026 is coming up, right? And I wanna first of all discuss and thank everybody obviously who's watching the recording, anybody who's watching live, but everybody who's watching the recording as well. Thank you so much for the channel growth because I couldn't do what I do without you guys, right? I couldn't do what I do without your support. And my goal is to grow this channel. Right now we're up past 50,000 subscribers, and my goal is to grow this channel to 100,000 subscribers at least this year. So I think we can do it. And of course, I can't do it without all you because you guys are the subscribers. So if you're actually not subscribed yet, feel free to subscribe. But uh, but yeah, so what I'm actually doing, what I'm planning for the new year, well, I'm planning a lot in the new year, but coming up I want you to set your calendar if you can make the event live. But I'm going to have a goal setting webinar on 1 p.m. I haven't 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, December 28th. So this lull time, I'll discuss what this is about in a moment. But this lull time, I thought, hey, it's pretty good because, if you're celebrating Christmas, then great. If you're not celebrating Christmas, that's fine, totally fine. But the idea is that between the 26th and the 31st, especially for people who are celebrating Christmas and also anticipating the New Year, which is a little bit more universal, right? January 1st than Christmas. But for those of you who are celebrating between the 26th and the 31st is a kind of like a dead time. It's kind of like a lull time for a lot of people where they're just between, the holidays and just coming up on the new year, and they're kind of slowing down. And I thought this is a really good time really to slow down a little bit, to slow down, to pause, to reflect, to collect ourselves. And we'll be doing that. And, if you don't have that personal time set aside, which a lot of us don't, take that personal time and we say, okay, I'm going to set aside my calendar and I'm going to set out some goals for the new year, and we never get around to it. Well, this is your excuse. This is your good, maybe accountability to plug into something, right? At this time, again, Sunday, the 28th, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, there will be a recording if you can't make it live. But, you could jump on the webinar, jump on it live. You don't have to be on screen or anything or, show your face even if you don't want to. But we're just going to discuss goals. We're going to discuss goals. We're going to discuss goal setting. But I'm actually going to do a little bit of a presentation as well on how to set goals, how to identify the right goals. And I kind of am coming at this from the standpoint of having, I would say, both theoretical experience and practical experience, right? I'm going to bring a little bit to this. It's not going to be this kind of traditional self-help, rah-rah session goal setting. Of course, we need to be excited about our goals, right? I'm not saying that. You need to be excited about your goals. You need to be passionate about your goals, right? Otherwise, the goals probably are not worthwhile if they're not exciting you, right? But the idea about this session is that I'm going to bridge a little bit of, one, my experience with, theoretical decision-making, decision theory, frameworks, ethical theory and value theory frameworks, all that stuff. That's really actually there's, believe it or not, some really good, useful stuff in value theory from that field, and behavioral science and things like that. But at the same time, I'll be drawing upon a lot of the frameworks that I've actually learned I would say in having done business, some sort of business for the past. I don't think I've worked an actual job for somebody else except for very punctuated periods of time since maybe 2013. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. For that entire period of time, I've always done some sort of business. And so I will bring some of my experience in terms of how to set goals that actually work and where you might actually fall short in terms of your goal setting and some of the main pitfalls people experience. So again, that webinar is coming up on Sunday, December 28th, So Sunday, December 28th, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, U.S. time, New York time. And Melissa, welcome, welcome. Hi. So, and set your calendars. I will be sending out, if you're already on my email list, I will be sending out, emails about this event. You can register. Also, it's a free event, by the way. It's free. It's totally free. And I will also be posting on my community, what is it? YouTube community post. I'll be doing a YouTube community post about it, so you can post on there. Melissa, I have heard about Fortnite from a lot of my students, a lot of my younger students. So I don't play Fortnite, but I know probably a lot of people you you would love to play Fortnite with. So am I the Subway guy? Am I the like Jared? Jared? Actually, have I lost weight? What, the Subway guy? That guy, I think it was found out that he actually didn't actually eat Subway, like, or something like that. It was actually false advertising. So, but yeah, okay, cool, Steven. Okay, awesome, awesome. Yeah, so feel free to register for that event. For those who are just coming on, again, it's free. It's a goal setting webinar that for 2026. We're all just going to get together, like-minded people, right? Let's get together as like-minded people, and we will discuss some of our goals and how to set goals, how to avoid some of the pitfalls to avoid. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on December 28th, this kind of lull time. So, yeah, Ramesh, I just announced it. So feel free. Again, if you're already on my email list, you will see this announcement coming up. And you will also see, you'll see a community post with the link to the event coming up as well. So feel free to share, though, some of if you already have some 2026 goals that you want to talk about, that you want to discuss, you're thinking about, or you don't know what goals to set. Feel free to share some of them here. I mean, I will share once again. We got to this year, we got to 50,000 subscribers, and I say we because I'm including you in that. All of you are part of this community, so we together, got to 50,000 subscribers together, and I really appreciate everyone who subscribed to the channel, who has supported the channel, because again, my mission of this channel is, like, yes, I sell stuff, and right, I sell a course, and people always, I always see people saying, oh, you sell something, okay, yes, I sell something. You know why I sell something? To keep the channel alive, right? Like, to keep the channel going, right? That's why. Right, and why I monetize the channel, right? Like, makes sense. Otherwise I'm just like sitting on the street homeless doing this, right? Which isn't very fun. So the idea here is that I want to keep growing this mission, right? This mission of spreading critical thinking, right? That's my mission with this channel. Hope you guys get out there. I wouldn't be homeless, but anyway, that's the point. Let me see your comments here. Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas to you. I find most of the critical thinking videos helpful, and I had started using some techniques in my CPA exam prep, and now I'm diving into another level. I need to stop and stick to exams. Yeah, great. Awesome. Right, congratulations. Does getting a better, Stephen, you said, does getting a better system count as a goal? Yeah, actually. I mean, so anything really counts as a goal as long, how I see something counting as a goal is if it's SMART, SMART. You can always come back to this framework: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So basically here, you want to look at this and you want to say, well, is it specific, right? So maybe getting a better system. So maybe getting a better system for what? Maybe daily routines, discipline in specific areas of your life. Is that where you want to have a better system? Or is it like specifically a better learning system, or a better reading system, or a better communication system, or a better work-life balance, like a system for better work-life balance? So that would be maybe specific. And then you want to say, okay, it's measurable. So maybe part of your goal is to what aspects do you want to improve? Do you have any specific metrics you could use to measure that, right? So for instance, in your work-life balance, right, you could measure that in maybe quality hours that you spend on a family activity versus quality hours that you spend on working activity, and like what are you doing in those hours, right? And so that would be you know, that's the idea, right? You're a terrible salesman, I'm leaving. Okay, bye bye. So Thomas Vata, hey, welcome, welcome. All right, so yeah, I think SMART, that really, you always want to stick to SMART goals. SMART, right? It's the best measurement. You can look up that. It's not something that I invented, right? It's like not by far. First time I heard that was back when I was starting my first business in 2013, and it ends up being like a pretty good heuristic. By heuristic, I mean like a tool that you can use. That is it purely scientific and all this stuff? No, maybe not, but it is a very good heuristic to use. So you're quite welcome. So once again, for those who are just signing on, I'm having a webinar, a goal setting webinar for 2026 on 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, December 28th. If you're already on my email list, you'll see it in your emails shortly. A link to register for that. It's free, 100% free, and also, what else? Oh yeah, and you'll see a community post shortly. You see probably like a few of them coming up to join the webinar, to register for the webinar. So just look out on my community page. If you're on my email list, look out on your emails, and I probably will mention it once again on one of these webinars, so you probably can't miss it. I really, like, one of my goals is, this is such a, YouTube can be such a, like a cold interaction, because most of the time you're seeing me doing videos, right? And like, they're curated, right? They're edited, they're curated, they're like, there's a time limit and all this stuff. And so it's not something where, besides comments, where we can really interact. And so one of my core missions of this channel is I do want to create a community of people, besides spreading critical thinking, right? I want to create a community of people that are like-minded, that can actually talk to each other on important topics, deep topics, right? One of my biggest frustrations, and I'm sure it's a frustration for a lot of you out there as well, is that, I want to talk about important things with people. I want to talk about important topics. Now, I do have a few friends who I can talk with on a regular basis that enjoy these intellectual topics and important topics, or like deep topics. But it's like, for most people that I encounter, if we start talking about deep topics, or I bring up something that's fairly deep, we'll talk about it for a little bit, but then that other person might lose interest, right? Whereas like, there are some people I can talk about some really deep topics, philosophical, scientific, political, whatever, ethical, for hours and hours and hours. And what I found is, it's really not about the person's education level. It's really not. It's because I have I'll be honest, I have a brother-in-law who, he has about a high school education, like, and for just life circumstances, he never went to college. He went to restaurant, he worked in the restaurant industry, right? And he has all this amazing practical experience, right? And he's an incredible person. I love my brother-in-law. But that's the thing. What I found is, I can actually talk to him about really deep topics. Like, he's into that. He's really open to it. But it's not like he has the greatest university education. On the flip side, it's very interesting. I know somebody who, like, I don't know their IQ, right? I know somebody, and I'm not going to name the person, but I know somebody who undoubtedly has a very high IQ. I know they have a tremendously sky-high IQ. I mean, I don't even need to test, like, I can tell. However, the person, he's top 1%. He scored in the top 1% on the Gaokao exam in China, right? That's kind of how I gauge that. Like, so he's very intelligent in terms of general intelligence, okay? You don't score top 1% on the Gaokao exam unless you have it probably Mensa level IQ. All right. So here's the thing. He does not enjoy intellectual conversation. He's not intellectually curious at all. It just doesn't. Never reads a book, right? Never reads a book. I like. He's even said that. Oh, I haven't read a book like in a year or something like that, right? Never reads, and then spends most of his time on his phone, like flipping through TikTok. And so nothing wrong with being on TikTok. Like you're on your phone right now, right? But you're learning something. That's the thing. That's the difference. You're learning something. You're not watching silly videos. I hope this is not just a silly video. But that's the contrast. And so I really hate this assumption that, and this stereotype, this two-way stereotype, that people who have high IQs, they're really intellectually curious. And so, no, that's not true. And I hate the opposite stereotype, like that, oh, if somebody's a trash truck driver, or like, does a menial job, works in a factory or whatever, they're not intellectual. Like that's I think one of the most harmful types of stereotypes. Don't judge someone. Start judging someone when you interact with them, right? Not before you interact with them. You can judge someone to some extent, but once you actually have a conversation, start having a conversation. Intellectual curiosity is really key. And, many high IQ people do not have it. Many people who have just an average IQ, maybe, or somewhat above average IQ, might be super intellectually curious, and some of the most interesting people to talk to, quite honestly. I think I have to verify this, I have to fact check this, I don't know 100%, but for instance, Richard Feynman supposedly stated that he had an average IQ, something like, or no, like 120 IQ, which is still like, that's above average, 120 IQ, right? 130 is Mensa, right? You have to get into Mensa, 130 to get into Mensa. But he's like, you would expect, 130 to be a physicist, to be a groundbreaking physicist, not 120. But he's, he was very intellectually curious, right? So anyway, we kind of veered into this topic, but the original announcement, guys, if you weren't already here, is 1 p.m. December 28th, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, U.S. time, on December 28th. I will be doing a free goal-setting webinar, just to kind of come on here, and not come on here, but to get on a Zoom. And you can register for the event. We'll talk about 2026 goals. We'll talk about potential pitfalls with our goals. We'll talk about things that I've learned about goal setting over the past 12, 13 years of experience, I guess, doing different businesses, but also publishing, academic work, and what it takes to set goals and achieve goals there. So different types of goals, different types of experience, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, how to set the right goals and set them in a sustainable way for 2026. Because once again, critical thinking, a big part of critical thinking is about decision making the right decisions, especially when we don't have perfect information, and how to set things up the right way. So that you look for my community post on this to register for this, and if you're already on my email list, watch out for my email on this as well to register. I'll probably have a couple of community posts on this. So let's take a look. I've seen many news articles stating this kid has IQ more than Einstein, but still such people rarely make scientific discovery as that of Einstein. Why is that? Oh yeah, I think you're talking about the Belgian child who has this really amazing IQ level. To make discoveries and to make new discoveries, let's put it this way, probably at least an above average IQ is, I'm gonna carefully say this, is probably necessary, or it's probably more likely to make certain discoveries, if you have a above average high IQ. I say that very conservatively because I don't know for sure, but that's based on what I've seen in terms of research, what it seems to suggest. But it's not it's not sufficient, right? So just because you have an above average IQ does not mean you're going to make great discoveries. Just because you have a 140 level IQ does not mean you're going to make discoveries. For that, what we talked about before, you need high curiosity, and you also need high creative intelligence. And creative intelligence is a different set of psychometric measures than those for general intelligence. I was, for a bit, I was skeptical about that was true. But look into the research of Robert Sternberg. He has a lot of great work on creative intelligence. It's not fringe stuff. It's not stuff that's on the fringes. It's stuff that's fairly widely accepted or widely regarded in psychology and cognitive science. Creative intelligence and practical intelligence, and to a large degree, critical thinking type intelligence or critical thinking skills. They are different. They are different and distinct, although somewhat related, psychometric measures from those of general intelligence. All right, there's some overlap, but Delbert, I'm Italian. What can I say? I love to talk with my hands, right? I love to express with my hands. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's just something I talk with my hands, right? I talk with my hands. I don't think there's anything inherently bad about that, but I don't know. It might annoy you. I'm not sure. Goals make me cringe. Yeah. Okay. Muk. Yeah. Well, goals make you cringe. I can understand why goals make you cringe. I can actually understand that. I think I understand, and it has. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it has less to do. It seems when people say goals make them cringe, or like it's cringy to talk about goal setting, here's why I believe that's the case. So in the self-help arena, right, and in like self-help and pop science and pop psychology and stuff like that, people talk about goals and like 10x your goals, and like be a, whatever, like, so goals have, you might have, in other of my videos, you might have heard me talk about phenomenology. Yes. So I'm Italian American, right? To be clear, my parents, or my grandparents' parents were from Italy, so I call myself Italian, right? So that's, at least us in the U.S., that's a lot of times we talk about, oh, I'm Polish, right? If you're like 3 generations Polish or something. So I know it might sound weird to people who are outside the U.S., but so anyway, what was I saying? You got me off track. I got myself off track. But goals, yeah. If you've ever looked at other videos of mine, you might have heard of this idea of phenomenology, right? Phenomenology. So behind a word, a word always has some, in addition to what Frege, the philosopher Frege, called it like a sense and a reference, it also has, something called a connotation. You might have obviously heard of the idea of a connotation in just everyday speech. But words have connotations. So in our modern culture, the word goal, beyond its literal meaning of simply meaning, having a denotation, which is simply having a stated purposeful outcome, right? Which is how I would say a goal, having some intentional, purposeful outcome that is desired, right? That would be a goal in my usage of the term. In addition to that denotation, that literal denotation, there is a connotation. There is some phenomenology. There is some web of associations that you might have with that word that cause you to feel like this cringiness around the word goal or goal setting. And so I can understand that, and I can appreciate that. just understand that how you are understanding the term goal is probably not the same way that I'm using it, right? Again, I'm using it to only to mean literally a purposeful, intended, desired outcome, right? And so, if you don't want to call that a goal, it's up to you. You don't have to have the same association. You don't have to use the same word, right? Um, it's a fear, shame, cringe. Yeah. So okay. So it sounds like it is a phenomenology, right? Basically, you have some association with the word goal that has to do with shame or fear, something like that. So here's my recommendation to you. If you don't like the word goal, then don't use that word goal. You don't have to use that word goal. Like I don't let me impose the word you should use for something you want to use for a desired purposeful outcome. Does that make sense? Hopefully it makes sense. You can use a different word. I'm not partial to the word goal, right? But I would rather use the word telos, like Aristotle. but if I keep using that word, I think nobody's going to recognize the word, so I just say goal, right? So there's not, yes, there are better words, but that's kind of, I find the word goal is like the easiest, simplest word for most people to kind of relate to. So yeah, it has limitations. So Muk Muk, I think you're correct. Like there is a little bit of cringiness around the word. So, but I hope that helped. I hope that input helped, because there's a lot of shame and fear and other kinds of emotions and associations with this word goal. There are also senses of often like superiority and inferiority that come along with this word. So none of that is my intended meaning, right? So it's phenomenology, builds the yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah. Exactly what it comes down to, and here's something that you might have seen a lot of my videos on intelligence as well, the idea of intelligence, and if not, you can check those out. But it's kind of the same with many terms. In the sciences, in the social sciences, and the cognitive sciences, there are operational definitions for words, and they just simply have a usefulness. But sometimes those operational definitions bleed into the kind of the social milieu, so to speak, in which we start to use them in specific contexts, and then they have specific connotations, right? And so I would say in the social context, in kind of the everyday folk context, I would say uh, nobody has a hegemony over how a word should be used. And I say that take it with a grain of salt, because yeah, we should use language, right, with some level of coherence so that we can understand each other. There's also a utility to using language so we can understand each other. But at the same time, terms are the terms that we use all have their own connotations. And so at the very least, we need to, if not, change the words and change the terms, at the very least, when we're in conversations with each other, we need to be super clear about, how you are using the term and how I'm using the term, and how each participant in the conversation is actually using the term. Clarity of how the term is being used. And if we find that, okay, we're not all using this term in the same exact way, well, then we have to be open to reinterpretation, right? I didn't say we have to automatically reinterpret. We have to be open to reinterpretation, right? So that's a longer discussion. It's a very important discussion. It's a longer discussion, but definitely worthwhile. Yeah. So consensus to some extent. Yeah, consensus in some sense. Yes. So guys, just as a reminder for anybody who just hopped on anyway, we're going to have I call it a goal setting webinar. You can call it whatever you want. We're just going to, on December 28th, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, U.S. time, we're going to get together on a webinar. We're going to discuss our, you might say, our objectives, the outcomes that we want for 2026, the outcomes that we're looking to achieve, what we want to happen in 2026, our hopes, our dreams in 2026, and how to put those hopefully into action. So look out for the link. If you're on my email list already, you'll see the link in your email shortly, coming up soon, so look out for that. And if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, you will see that link on one of my community posts very, very soon. So look out for that, and it's totally free. All right, so I enjoy speaking with you every Wednesday at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. So take care, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you soon.